Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
Good. Great.
TGIF, thank God it's Friday. Awesome conference, everyone. I've attended many of these, and I have to admit, Allison, wherever you are, one hell of a job. I think we should all give her a round of applause. I had the privilege of opening the conference with the manufacturers group on Wednesday morning. We talked a little bit about brand development and business building and framework and all of those interesting things. And now I get to expand upon that conversation a little bit and bring the sales element of what we discussed on Wednesday to your luncheon today. The one thing that I try to do during these types of events is not make a lecture, but more share of information. A little bit about Mozo and where we come from. We're owned by the Deckers Outdoor Corporation, a company that owns brands such as UGG, which most of you are familiar with if you have young daughters, wives, and others. And we thank you for that very much. A brand called Peppa, which is the #1 leading sandal brand in the world today. We're very fortunate to own that brand. Chinook, the fastest growing casual footwear brand in the United States today, born out of the surf industry. A brand new brand that you'll begin to hear a lot about in the coming months. A brand called Coca, which is a brand we purchased about 18 months ago and is the fastest growing running shoe brand today in the United States. And others. We take a different approach to the business. We take a very branded approach to the business, and we literally, as I say in our opening here, bring the science of selling to the discipline of strategy. And why is that important? And in talking with Mike and others before deciding to address the audience, a couple of things came to mind on their behalf and questions that they had spoken to me about. Understanding the difference between sales representation and becoming a brand ambassador. Are they the same? Are they different? Why? Why is that important? How do you move a relationship? And I heard it all week, and it's evidenced in this room. There are phenomenal relationships in this room. I've been involved with many, many industries, and quite frankly, the food industry and the food service element of that industry, the relationships that you people have with one another, first of all, it's very seldom that you have a manufacturer, a dealer, and a sales agent in the same room all getting along. So that to me is remarkable. So how do you take relationships and develop partnerships? We talk partnership, it's the most abused word in business today. I want to be a partner. Well, what does that really mean? And what do you want that outcome to be? At Deckers, we go through this exercise every day with a clear, defined outcome. And that outcome is to achieve and anchor franchise status. Every one of our brands is built to be that franchise player. Not a participant, not a follower, but the franchise player. Because they get the most attention, they also get the most scrutiny. If you're involved in watching the NFL playoffs, you'll know how Tom Brady and Peyton Manning feel right now. They are the franchise, not only of their teams, but you could arguably say the NFL itself. So when Deckers goes to market, franchise status is everything that we work to achieve and everything that we do. And I'm going to share some insights today with you about how we do it, kind of step by step, if you will, just to give you a little bit of an idea about how one industry may help another industry move forward. Developing a sales structure. These 4 steps are principal to the foundation of what we do each and every day. The ability to align and communicate a brand vision is incredibly important, especially at the onside of anything that we do. How does that relate to product, and how does that relate to selling strategies? Which immediately follows to the implementation of a comprehensive, systematic, and sequential concept that allows for purposeful selling strategies in place before going to the market. really critical step. Slow down to speed up is something we talk about all the time in our business. Too many times I've seen too many great opportunities not realize their potential because you ran too fast, you knew it was there, but you chose not to do some of the things you needed to do prior to going to market. And as a manufacturer or a brand, that is your responsibility. Do not put your sales organization at jeopardy because you're not prepared to go. One of the greatest brands today in the athletic footwear business, if not the greatest, is Nike. We all know them. The one cornerstone to their discipline is they don't go until they're ready to go. None of us even know that happens. Because when they go, it's such a comprehensive package, you just assume it flowed in concert with everything else that they do. They're no different than anyone in this room. The difference is the discipline they apply prior to going to market. Point number 3 is something that we work very hard at. And it's probably the most difficult thing we try to overcome each and every day. The courage of conviction to stay the course. A focused commitment sustained over time. No shortcuts, don't quit. If you really believe in it, believe in it. And if you don't, raise the questions immediately, because it's not going to happen overnight. We operate in a society today, unfortunately, that thinks everything happens in the nanosecond. The iPhone, digital age. If it didn't happen 5 minutes ago, is it really real? And how long will it exist? Sustainability and managing time is critically important to building foundations, and when you're in the branding business, it's one of the cornerstones of what you have to understand to do. And then establishing executional excellence from the, in this case, dealer's point of view. If I was giving a presentation, it would be from a retailer's point of view. How do they view you, the manufacturer, the brand, or the sales rep, from an executional standpoint? Are you performing in what they believe is excellence every single day? As opposed to looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, we're doing great. Are you? How do we begin to understand that? These steps help. Develop understanding. Identify the opportunity. It sounds, yeah, I get it. Here's the difference. It's called shaping and framing. Again, being involved in 7 different brands, we're forced to shape and frame every brand message, every sales strategy, every product introduction precisely. When you do not go through that exercise and put your sales organization out there without framing and shaping, you act in the general domain. And when you act in the general domain, you get general results. It doesn't make anybody happy, and you can't understand why. It's simply you didn't shape it or you didn't frame it. Build consensus. Create a winning team environment between the dealer, the manufacturer, and the sales representative. That's the team. That's the environment. We work at that constantly. Not our internal team, or not their external team. The team combined. So that communication becomes efficient, effective, and useful. Create belief. Gain acceptance. Really important. How do you gain acceptance? Interesting test. We use this all the time. Question. You can write this one down. This is a good one. Do you need to see it in order to believe it? Whatever that is. Or you believe it before you see it? Think about that for a second. New product introduction. Doesn't matter what size organization you are, we all face it every day. How do you create belief? Do you need to actually see it, feel it, touch it before you believe it? Or do you have the capability as a professional to say, I get it. I don't need to see it, I trust you Therefore, I believe. When we started Mozo, and there are some people in this room that were in that meeting a few years ago and listened to me about this, we didn't have anything to really show anyone other than ourselves. We had to create our own belief. We had to create our brand from scratch. We chose a different path. And by doing so, you look in the mirror at yourself and you understand one really important basic principle. We, the people, are the product and are the brand. We, the people, are the catalyst behind all of that success or demise, depending on how we think, act, and execute. Product today, no matter how good or bad, is simply a symbol of the people. It is not the brand. Quite frankly, it's not the business. It's symbolic of that. We talked about that on Wednesday morning of understanding the difference between being an ability-enhancing product, chops faster, makes better, etc., and moving over to an experience-enhancing product. How does that product and the capabilities of those new products and innovation make the experience better, more sustainable, more long-lasting, more interesting? Creating belief is incredibly important in the process each and every day for us Deckers, and I'm sure just all of you the same way. But do you need to see it before you believe it, or will you believe it before you see it? Construct your roadmap. Again, it gets down to shaping and framing where you want to go and how you want to get there. And oh, by the way, I'm kind of like on what day, what month, what year thing. Again, if you work in the general domain and you leave it up to others, man, even with GPS, they don't hit the right dial when they say highway versus back roads, and you can't understand why it's taking them so long to get there, the GPS is off. So we always re-register the GPS within the Deckers organization every quarter. Initiate action. How do you move from opportunity to choice? We all have opportunities, that's why we're here. How do you change an opportunity and drive it to choice? And set your own competitive set against a competitor. Because you are going to establish a franchise, not a one-time event. You know, there was an interesting book I read a few years ago called Hope is Not a Method. Great book. Phenomenal book. It's written by 3 5-star generals who unfortunately had the responsibility of getting us through a few wars in the last couple of decades. It was an unbelievable book because hope doesn't play any role in what they do ever. And it caught me completely off guard when I thought I was doing a good job and thought I was thinking everything through and taking things into consideration, and more importantly, bringing others into the thought process. Because sometimes we all get caught up in ourselves, and all of a sudden we got the best idea in the room, right? Maybe not. Sales reps, customer service representatives are the best ear-to-the-ground people I've ever worked with in my life. The best. They keep it simple, they understand it, and they communicate it effectively. This happened for this reason, and we got to deal with it in this way. I think. What do you think? It's the healthiest conversation an organization can have. And how do you provide and instill ingredients for success? By collaboration. Bring more people into the party for better results. It's not about more product, not about a better price, not about a better package. Somebody's going to beat you on price, somebody's going to beat you with a package every day. We all know that. It's the collaborative element. It's the people factor. It's making it all work. It's knowing that you might have a business card that says sales representative on it. I don't even know where that term came from, quite frankly, years and years ago. We don't use those terms at Deckers. You're a brand ambassador. Your role expands to every facet of the business. Not just the presentation of the products or the deal to be made, but every facet of the business. Why is that important? I'm going to take you through kind of a consolidated approach of certain words that we use to emphasize these points. Organize. Gather the appropriate market information to help your dealers make the best informed decision. Don't assume your dealers have that information at hand. So Mike's earlier point about the report and things like that you guys provide to each other. Help them help you. Be incredibly organized. Be convincing. Formalize. Help identify your dealers' goals and assist in developing the best plan to achieve those goals. Be their best friend. But do it formally. Relationship to partnership. Relationship to partnership. Formalize the planning process, and that is a step in the process of moving from relationship-based selling. I hope they still like me, and I hope that buyer never moves from that position, because if they do, versus partnership, franchise status. No matter who holds the pencil at any point in time, we're in a good place. Prioritize, really important. Help your dealers understand their opportunity. We sometimes assume they understand the opportunity. We present them because it is the most important thing on our mind. It should be. But do we take the time to understand opportunities that they're presented with every day and how that affects the decisions that will be made about what you're trying to achieve? So how do you rank that dealer opportunity set? How do you become so trusted that they actually listen? Capitalize. Help expand your existing influence. By becoming the go-to expert for your dealers in all facets of the business, not just any one facet of the business. Every channel of distribution we touch at Deckers, we work diligently to become the go-to expert. Not just a participant, not just some organization that's heard once in a while. That's not good enough. It does not create the kind of foundation we need to propel ourselves into the next season, if you will, or the next merchandising plan, if you will, or the next product introduction, if you will. Be that go-to guy, that go-to girl, that go-to organization that is so reliable that you can finish the other person's sentence. The equity you build from that is an immovable object. Based on, again, yourself, the introspective person, the people element of the business. Optimize. Help evaluate your dealer's current business situation as it relates to product and service. And help your dealer devise a plan that leverages their market equity. Many times, and we deal with this in Mozo, what is the true service requirement of launching a new product in your business? What is that true requirement today versus what it might have been just 6 months ago or a year ago? Because things are moving. I was talking to some folks last evening about perspective and watching an industry like this industry go through the motions it's going through today. I will tell you today, ladies and gentlemen, expect consolidation and expect it to happen rapidly. It's coming. And there's not a thing anyone in the room can do about it. It just happens. It happens at retail, it happens at wholesale, it happens on the supply side of the business, it happens on the manufacturing side of the business. It's occurring with the Deckers organization as I speak. And I'll give you an example. We do much of our production offshore, like most organizations do today. China is our biggest resource in production today. We have numerous factories and hundreds of thousands of people making our shoes. Problem. We've done such a good job of they're middle class, then no one wants to do what they used to do. And in our particular case, make great product all the footwear for the Deckers Corporation. Consolidation. Factories shrink or they change. They don't want to make shoes anymore. Now they want to make iPhones. Or they want to do something else. We're in a constant state of adjustment. The ability to adapt. Really, really important. The best brands, the best companies in the world today, don't always employ the smartest people. But the one thing they do have, more than anything else, is the ability to adapt. When you look at yourselves as organizations, as a sales representative, of somebody in charge of an organization, from the top down, what's your ability to adapt? Because consolidation, the competitive set in which we operate in, is evolving very quickly. It will become more competitive. And for those of you who recognize that, you have a bit of an advantage right now. But don't take it for a long period of time, because others will recognize it and find a way. And help your dealers leverage their market equity. One of the interesting things we learned when bringing Mozo, an unknown brand, into the food service business was how important it was to understand certain dealers' market equity. We needed to understand that so they could help us understand the industry, but also understand how to bring our product to market. As opposed to a brand that had all the answers or a solution. We had neither. We had one thing. Big ears and an ability to learn. We listened. Really important. And dealers love to share that information. Again, frame it, shape it, and use it to your benefit. Stabilization is also really, really important. You got to have a great foundation in order to create leverage. Especially when it comes down to new product innovation and communication. When you introduce new products, it's very, very important they come off a base that is rock solid. If there is any suspect in that base, and you've all been through it, where it's new, but the previous was, okay, this is supposed to make it better though, right? Maybe. And oh, by the way, the price went up, and the packaging changed, and you're creating all kinds of problems for me. Because now I've got to change my operating code. As opposed to understanding what does that foundation need to be before and prior to launching that new product, so that when those questions arise, and it's not an if, it's only a when, you're prepared to address them, answer them, and fulfill on that promise. Communication. Customize. Tailor your dealer strategies to provide differentiation and relevance to their specific marketing customers. Really important. Most of the brands that I work with on the retail side of the industry get stuck in differentiation. You gotta be different. You gotta be different. We gotta be different. Okay, you're different. Why? Define why. We talked about that on Wednesday. Ask yourself why 5 times. If you can't get the answer by the 5th one, start over. Because you're not going to be successful. If you stop at differentiation, we're different because we put it in a different box. It's got a different blade. It's sharper than the other guys. What's the relevance of that? Is anybody asking for it, by the way? Does anybody really care? And if they don't, but you do, how do you make them care as much as you do? How do you create relevance? One great brand today that we're all affected by, it changed our lives, is Apple. We talked about these guys on Wednesday. Steve Jobs was a genius in simplicity. Simple utility. The iPhone. Simple utility. Changed the world. He didn't set out to change the world, by the way. He just set out to understand simple utility and have fun with it. But what did that bring to each and every one of us is a new relevance to how we live our lives, how we conduct business, how we communicate with one another. He really, really understood the ability to deliver relevance. He knew it was going to be different, but he really weighted his expertise and his genius on the side of relevance. That's what makes Apple different. That's when you move from an ability-enhancing product, Samsung, great smartphone, more capabilities in some cases, and some arguably would say better than Apple. Issue. They didn't tie ability to enhancing the enjoyment of the product itself. They didn't move from differentiation to creating new market relevance. They couldn't unseat Apple. They'll never unseat Apple. They can't unseat Apple because Apple owns the relevance of your mind today. Even if you're not an Apple user, you are clearly aware that Apple will do something that all others will follow. Yeah? That's franchise status. That's market leadership. Doesn't matter how much money Samsung spends. Apple doesn't lose 1 second of sleep over it. Because they now own market relevance. Actualize. Build and manage a plan that helps all parties achieve their financial objectives. Really important. Not just one party, not just two parties, but everybody involved. Actualization. The realization of how important it is to make money today in a very competitive world. How do you do that? With all the price pressures we have today, all the sourcing issues that we have today, all the operational issues and logistical issues you work through each and every day. How do you actualize that so that all people involved make money? Because if only 1 or 2 parties are making money and the other third party is unhealthy in this particular case, the whole process is not healthy. Advertise. Ever hear this word before?
No.
Anybody ever? I hope not, because they made it up. How do you aggregate your business? How do you expand your dealer's horizon? This we could talk to forever. I love this part of the business. How do you take a known horizon at whatever level and begin to expand it so that you present vision, some risk, a sweaty palm, an exciting opportunity, but always look further at the horizon. How do we do that? Especially when we work predominantly on a supply side business. How do we do that? How do you create that kind of enthusiasm? How do you aggregate everything that you do so that that horizon becomes brighter, stronger, and better through your voice? A brand that is a market leader, the top 3 women's brand in the world today, does that each and every time it engages with a consumer. We raise the horizon. We paint a different picture. Our brand stays true to itself. Feels like nothing else. But you, that end user, get to interpret that feeling as you would like it to be. And we just keep moving that horizon for you so that, ladies in the room, you buy your 5th pair and your 6th pair. We love that. Fantasize. Really important. You don't hear it in business very much. But it's an important element of the business planning process. Especially when you're building a brand. How do you help a dealer realize their future vision and real potential? It can't be every day blocking and tackling. You will face a shrinking world if that's what it is. And we all feel that pressure at times, where it's blocking and tackling, blocking and tackling, blocking and tackling, to the point where you feel like you're in a vice. And thinking doesn't occur anymore, it's just doing. It's just an action. And sometimes we don't even know why we're doing what we're doing, when we're doing it, and what the result might be. Take the time to take a step back. This is another moment of slow down to speed up. Take the time to fantasize how you can create a future vision for your dealers, for your manufacturers. If you're a sales rep representing a great manufacturer and you have some insight to offer it. We talked about this on Wednesday. about where great innovation comes from, where great stuff comes from. Most companies pay for it from the outside. The really smart companies identify people who are insiders that think outside. Think about that for a minute. The great companies, the great brands, they recognize within their own ranks the insiders, the really talented folks, somewhat crazy every once in a while, that think outside. Some people call it outside the box. I just say outside. And welcome that kind of communication. Your dealer will trust you more when you do those kinds of things. Because you show to them, your manufacturer will do the same. You show to them, you're thinking. You're thinking. And I'll use Apple as an example again. We talked about this on Wednesday morning. Apple's foundation was built on 2 words. Just 2 words. Didn't cost a lot of money to get there. The most highly valued brand on the globe today, based on 2 words. Think different. You didn't have to go to Harvard to figure that out. Think different. Everything that Apple does is contained within think different. It is what it is today. What will it be tomorrow? Help your dealers do the same. Think different. I'm going to close with just some steps and procedures to give you an idea again of how we operate at Deckers. It's relevant to some. It may not be relevant to all. How do you move from issues to choices? We all face issues. How do you develop them and make them a choice? How do you take a possibility and turn it into an approach where everyone understands the consequences involved? And if anyone in the room believes there aren't consequences involved in everything you do, think again. There are consequences. The choice is good versus bad. And we always want to be good. So how do we eliminate the bad consequence? By talking about them, by understanding the risks involved. Up front, prior to going to market. How do you generate strategic possibilities? This is key. The ultimate act of selling is the ability to create really interesting possibilities. And it goes to what we said a little bit earlier. Do you need to see it in order to believe it, or do you have the ability to communicate a belief system before you actually see it? Because if you can do that, you separate yourself from everyone else. You become that 2% of the 98% that can't do that. And literally it's about 2%. If you can raise yourself to that trust factor within yourself, a belief system within yourself first and foremost, to say, I can communicate that way, I can be that effective, I can think that way. You change the setting, you control the environment, you allow yourselves collectively to create direction, therefore opportunity. Specify the conditions for success. It's really important. I've learned this lesson the hard way of being not as formal as I needed to be when trying to understand what success meant. And then getting frustrated with sales management or marketing management because they didn't get it. Well, the reason they didn't get it is because I didn't communicate it, I didn't frame it, I didn't shape it correctly. So what is the conditions for success? What's the logic behind it? The 2 most misused, misunderstood, and underused words in business today: common sense. We get caught up in a lot of other things and forget about good old common sense and logic. Really helps. Really, really helps. So when I'm in front of these staffs, and they're great, and they're energetic, and they're young, and they're enthusiastic, and they do these unbelievable digital presentations that blow me away because I pretty much suck at that stuff. Okay? And then I just sit and ask them, explain the logic. And they go, huh? Logic? Okay. sense, it's not going to work. Identify your barriers to choice. We talk about this all the time. Is your dealer prepared to help you create a new business? Or do we just assume that they are, and that's what they're there for? Can they support a new product introduction? And are they willing to partner and help with the development of promotions that do that? I've been involved many times with opportunities with dealers in the last couple of years with Mozo, where they love the product. They allow us to become part of their plan, but I can't get that promotion done for you because our calendar is pre-planned. Wow. I don't think we can do business together then, because we need the promotions to drive the end user to help your business actualize what it needs to actualize. Really important. How do you prep your dealer each and every day to set them up for what's coming? How do you take them from the now moment into a sneak peek of the future? Tough job, especially for the sales folks, because we want you in the now. It goes to what we talked a little bit about on Wednesday, the difference between attaining goals and attaining growth. And we went through a litany of different experiences about that. Goals, very time sensitive, very one-time useful. Growth, roads that never end, more journey oriented, more platform based. Step one leads to step two, never ending. Really, really important. Design and conduct tests. At Deckers, we do this with everything that we do, because we're in the fashion business for the most part. So we have to be very, very smart about color, texture, design, style, and price point, packaging, all those things. So in order for us to launch global products, we have to test products in unique market opportunities. Because for us, we're talking millions of units, very quickly to market, etc. Let me just scale this for you, and I'll use the Young brand. And this is public information, so I can share this. The government won't come down on me, I think. UGG as a brand, we know as a fall and winter brand, surely lining boots, and women are familiar with the brand, certainly. Just to give you an idea of how important it is to conduct tests prior to going to market, the UGG brand does approximately 87% of its business in 16 weeks. 16 weeks. The scale of that business exceeds $1.5 billion. So we better know, prior to going to market, what those tests mean, how we implement those tests, how we read them, and how we execute against predominantly that 16-week period of time. Because the folks on Wall Street are watching. And then how do you influence choice? How do you remain engaged throughout the entire process? Another really important factor in building success. Anticipate the informational needs that you'll have on all parties' parts, from a manufacturing standpoint, from a dealer standpoint, from a sales rep standpoint. This is where sales representation really becomes key. This is when one of the elements of moving from a sales rep to a brand ambassador becomes really, really important, because you're really looking at all facets of the business here. How do you provide test results? How do you want those test results packaged? How do you want to influence future decisions? You just put it out there and leave it up from there for whoever to interpret, or you provide the interpretation of that test so that there's clear, known facts that you can build foundation from. And then how do you clearly articulate the ability to move that possibility into a reality, to build that franchise? Because, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of each day, at the end of each season, at the end of each session, at the end of each meeting, the one thing that I will guarantee you is that everything we do is a test. You're going to leave this meeting with a lot of new information. you're going to take that information for the most part and create new tests for yourself. The cool part about that is if you realize it and accept it, it gives you a sustainable advantage because if you're really good at it, the tests never end. They just continue to go on and on and on. And by the way, those tests become franchisable and you become the market leader that you all want to become. No secrets. It's what we do each and every day. I hope it helps you guys understand a little bit about how a retail branded organization goes to market. We love the fact that we have an opportunity to participate in the food service industry today. Mozo is an exciting brand doing things a little bit differently with great representation. And I'm proud to say with the courage of those sales representatives and agencies to move from just product representation to becoming clearly a brand ambassador and to helping everyone engage in a very small brand growing at a very fast rate to understand what it's going to take to continue to build franchise status. Oh, by the way, in an industry at a point of distribution where less than 2 years ago, a shoe had never been sold. Never been sold. Didn't have a place on the floor. No one in the building knew how to sell the product. We had sizes and gender, men's and women's, colors, fabrics, limited editions. And everybody told us it can't be done. And we said, perfect, that's exactly why we're doing it. It's the market opportunity. So on behalf of everybody at Deckers worldwide, we really enjoy the opportunity to share some of the insights that help to make us successful and certainly hope that it will help to make each and every one of you successful. We thank you for your loyalty to our brand, and we appreciate the opportunity that the food service industry provides to Mozo. We have some exciting things coming along the way. Keep an eye out for us. We do it a little bit differently, and I look forward to meeting more of you as our journey continues. So again, I just want to say thanks and best wishes for the 2014 year. Thanks very much.